Hi guys, it's G-Economics here, and I'm bringing you a video today for those of you studying for F583 or F584, and this is the next in the series of videos on market structures, and today I'm looking at the whole notion of perfectly competitive markets. So you'll know that perfectly competitive markets are a highly theoretical scenario, and really we just use this as a benchmark to see how near or how far other market structures are from this very idealistic market structure that we would like to get to. So there are a few very important characteristics of a perfectly competitive market. This is by no means a finite list, but these are the most important of the characteristics. So number one, firms are price takers in a perfectly competitive market. So as you can see here, when I've set these diagrams up, we've got the industry and we've got the firm. Well, the firm has to accept the price determined by the industry market supply and the industry market demand. So firms are price takers, unlike monopoly, of course, where obviously the single supplier is a price maker and has that ability and that liberty, if you will, to set its own price. There is freedom of entry and exit, so incumbent firms can get out of the market if they wish to, and also firms who see a profit opportunity can enter the market if they wish to do so. There are many buyers, small firms, so none of these firms are large enough to influence the market price, but there are lots of them, and there are many sellers. And then finally, each firm sells a homogeneous product, a homogeneous product, an identical product. So those are the key characteristics, if you will, for perfectly competitive markets. So let's get into the diagrams. Now, I had already started this, ladies and gentlemen, and then my recording stopped, hence the reason I've already got some annotations here. But the key point is we've got the market demand and the market supply, which is the industry. So the sum of all the demand and supply curves for all the firms and buyers in the industry. That determines the equilibrium price, and then that price, the individual firm has to simply accept that price because they are said to be price takers. Consequently, the price line, or the average revenue curve, also known as the demand curve, is perfectly elastic. So what we're saying by that is the perfectly competitive firm can sell as many units of output as it wants at the going price of P star in this instance. Now we're also saying here that P equals AR equals MR. And I've already gone through a little table here to explain why that's the case. But let me just talk you through it. So we've got units of output, 1, 2, 3. The price is the same all the time, so 10, 10 and 10. What would the total revenue be? Well, it would be 1 times 10, which is 10, 2 times 10, 20, 3 times 10, 30. What would the average revenue be? Well, obviously you want the total revenue divided by the output, so that would be 10 over 1, 10, 20 over 2, 10, 30 over 3, 10. So here we can see that price equals average revenue. And then what about marginal revenue? Remember your definition of marginal revenue, the change in total revenue from employing 1 additional unit of output. So when you go from output units 1 to 2, total revenue goes 10 to 20, so the marginal is 10. Output units 2 to 3 goes 20 to 30, marginal 10. Hence P equals AR equals MR. Okay. So having done that, I then added my marginal cost curve, which you also know, of course, ladies and gentlemen, is the supply curve. And then we're looking for our profit maximizing level of output, and you know that the profit maximizing output rule is MC equals MR. Where is that? It's at this intersection, hence we have P star and Q star being the level of output in this instance. So, as a consequence of this, ladies and gentlemen, we're still unsure as to whether or not the firm's making a profit or a loss, so we add our average total cost curve. You know it's U-shaped due to the law of diminishing returns. you know that the marginal cost curve cuts through it at the minimum point. And then where I got to before the video stopped was trying to look and assess how efficient this model of perfect competition is. So you know that we've got the P equals MC, which would be allocative efficiency, and P equals min ATC, or minimum efficient scale, which would be productive efficiency. So in this instance, we can see, number one, P equals MC, because it's the point at which the MC curve cuts the AR curve, where supply cuts demand. So price does equal the marginal cost in that respect. And it's also at the minimum point of the ATC curve. So it's both productively and allocatively efficient. Now you know, of course, that if you've got both of those, you can then say that that's known as economic efficiency, or as we've sometimes referred to it in the past, it's also known as Pareto efficiency, after the famous economist Vilfredo Pareto. So this diagram summarizes very concisely for us the long-run equilibrium position, and I guess the only other important thing to note here is that the firm is making normal profit. Now, normal profit, some people look at this and they think, well, cost equals revenue, how can that be profit? This is normal profit, and what we mean by normal profit is this. It's a sum just sufficient to keep the incumbent firms, so those firms already in the industry, it's sufficient to keep them going in the industry and not want to leave. But similarly, it's not high enough to attract outsiders in. And so it's normal in that respect. And so it means that, for example, if I had a florist shop and there's another one 4 or 5 doors down from my shop, if I made £15,000 profit a year and the other shop made £15,000 profit, it's normal. We're making normal profits in that respect. So that's the long run. Now, the short run scenarios for perfect competition make this slightly more interesting. So in the short run, two things can happen. We can either make a profit or we can make a loss. So let's take the profit scenario first of all and have a look at that. How would we analyse that on this diagram? So again, we'd have to have a change in the market, in the industry supply and demand. So let's say we've got an increase in the demand. So DM goes to DM2. That will obviously then yield a new price in the industry, which has to be accepted by the firm. So now the firm will be charging, instead of charging P star, they will be charging P2, and they will have a new price line here, P2 equals MR2 equals AR2. So we've got a new price line as well. Again, we look for the profit maximizing level of output here. So the profit maximizing level of output in this scenario, MC equals MR at this point. There's your MC curve, there's your MR curve. So this is the important point here. So we'll call that Q at D2. Now, is this firm making a profit or a loss? This is where it gets interesting. So we need to go to the costs. We need to find what the cost is at Q2. And you can see we're just to the right here of the minimum ATC. So we're marginally, if I may use that term, marginally above P star at C2. So that means that this hashed area, the difference between the price and the cost, this hashed area here, this is obviously an area in which price is greater than cost, revenue is greater than cost. So this, in fact, for the perfectly competitive firm is abnormal profit, in the same way as the monopolist would make abnormal profit. But the key difference here is that the monopolist would make this and can make this in the long run. In perfect competition, this scenario will only last for the short run, for a very short period of time, the SR. This will only last for the short run. Now you need to consider again how efficient or inefficient it is. So you can see we're clearly to the right of the minimum ATC, so we're not productively efficient, and in this instance we still have a scenario where MC cuts AR, which is the demand curve, so it is still allocatively efficient. It's allocatively efficient, but not productively efficient in the short run. Now, of course, in the long run, we know that we have freedom of entry into this market. So in the long run, new firms will see this potential profit and they will enter the market, enter the industry, and consequently the supply in the industry will increase, and all of these profits will be eroded until we get back to the position where we're back at the long run equilibrium position, where we're once again making long run normal profits, not abnormal, long run normal profits. So that's one way in which we can deviate from this long run equilibrium position. The other scenario is, and the diagram is going to get slightly complicated here just because I'm going to put them all in the one diagram. What if we had a reduction in demand? So again, I'm working from the original supply curve, the original demand curve. So this is my starting point here, and I'm going to shift this time, I'm going to shift the demand in this direction. So it's D3 in this case. So now I've got a new price point, P3. What can the individual firm do about it? Absolutely nothing. So they have to accept this new lower price, P3. And so now we have another new price line at P3 where AR3 equals MR3. And again, you do the same as before. So we say profit maximizing output rule, MC equals MR, which is here this time. So we know this is the price, but the cost this time is the key thing. So we go up to the cost curve. So this time we're just to the left of that big red dot there, which is the minimum point. And it's probably about on the same level as the cost point for the short run abnormal profit scenario. So it means that that hashed area there this time, that is all abnormal loss or subnormal profit, I guess is a better way of saying it, subnormal profit or a loss. And again, this is a short run scenario. This will not persist, because what will happen? Firms are free to exit the market. So if they're free to exit, they won't want to stay in the market when they're making a loss. They will leave, supply in the industry. Remember, this is our original supply curve. Supply will drop back to SM3, and we end up again back at the original equilibrium position, P star. Firm has to accept P star, and again it's long run normal profits. So that, ladies and gentlemen, in a nutshell, is perfect competitive markets. And the whole reason it works and why we have normal profits in the long run and why it's economically efficient, so that's productively and allocatively, is because, of course, primarily because of the fact that the firms, if they want to get out of the market, they can do. If they want to enter the market, they can do as well. So this freedom of entry and exit is key here, really. So that's where I want to leave it on this one, ladies and gentlemen. I hope this diagram is not too complicated for you. And if you've any questions, do ping me a message. And as ever, I'll do my best to get back to you. Bye for now.